if we stop and take a look at the opportunities in front of us, we don't need anyone to give us affirmative action. That's not what affirmative action was for anyway. So, except under some extenuating circumstances, when we're given a gift, when somebody gives us something, the key word gives us something, we inherently know that we owe that person back. And there's something to be said about having access to resources. I have been sitting back the past week or so listening to all it takes about affirmative action. So I do not want to make this political at all. So we're going to stay in the theme of my channel, which is I want to teach you how to strive to be better. And I want to teach you about motivating yourself to go out and get it on your own. I do not want to stress the good or what we perceive, which is good or bad. And so we're not going to be talking about what should or should not be happening. But what I do want to bring to your attention is you do not need to be affirmed, and you do not need anyone to tell you to take action. So when I looked up the etymology of the word affirmative, there's two words. It's affirm and action. Right. So basically what you're doing when we're talking about the overall sense of the word affirmative action, or the theme of affirmative action, is you are asking somebody to give you permission in order to move forward, to take action for yourself. You do not need anybody to give you permission to do anything. Right. You can affirm yourself, which this is what we call affirmations. And the action part of that word is and should be self-explanatory. And so when you take action, you're taking action based off of your beliefs, and you're taking action on the affirmations that you speak to yourself. So in today's discussion, what we're going to be getting into is not about whether both sides are right or wrong. Because to be honest with you, both sides of the arguments are very strong. And I don't want to diminish anyone's experiences. It's because all truths are true on some level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take more of that stoic approach to the situation to help you understand where your power lies and what you can do about a system that is clearly making it obvious that they're moving in a different direction and they're going to be shifting gears. So let's first start by saying or talking about where affirmative action actually came from. And yes, it is true that affirmative action was put in place to level the playing field, but it initially started with equal opportunities for employment for federal contracts. It's very important for you guys to know. And this system was brought out by JFK via his executive order to give equality for a lot of minority groups so they can compete for federal contracts. Over the years, that has actually been expanded, for equality. And what happened is you had a lot of agencies after that, both local and state governments, that started to fashion their policies in order to reflect that equal opportunity in the workforce, schools, and et cetera. And that was built off of the heels of the civil rights movement. So it makes perfect sense why this started to gain traction when it did. And so equally, all being all inclusive, we thought that this would level the playing field and make it fair for everybody. Now, I don't want to discount the impact this had for a lot of minority groups, not excluding anyone that has been treated unequally, but it especially helped the blacks or blacks and browns that had a lot of insurmountable disadvantages. So, and I'm all about people who look like me pushing hard to strive to do better. But sometimes you need a little bit of help, and that's never a bad thing. There are systems in this corporate America or this incorporation of America that do the same thing. They might call it something else, but that system in which they give helping hand, we often refer to this as nepotism. And nepotism is a practice among those who have power to give who they deem worthy, like their relatives, friends, their associates, things of that nature, jobs, using their power and influence. This is not to be looked at as necessarily all bad, because there's a lot of communities that use this as a standard practice. There is within those groups, they reach out to the people that they feel that are in need to give them a boost, to give them that head start in life. So this is not terrible to think that a government entity would try to level the playing field, and when it came to their government contracts, because we all know that competition does make everyone better, and competition shouldn't have anything to do with color, race, or gender. So what I would suggest is making yourself so valuable that you are able to compete on any level and platform that you choose. Let's take in the example, or let's look at an example of what the first computer was. A lot of people think that the computers were mechanical, but they weren't. Historically, computers were known as people. And historically, those people were women. And there was 4 women in particular who worked for NASA, which we now know as the Hidden Figures. And it didn't matter what their race was, because obviously there's a movie written behind the Hidden Figures. These women were black women, and they were used to be able to solve a problem, to a question that was needed for us to compete in that race for going to space. Case in point, affirmative action laws and policies were the attempt to level the playing field in order for us to give us an equal chance to level up and find out the ones that could compete. Many of the people that we have come to know and love have benefited from this very system of affirmative action that has catapulted them to extraordinary levels from there. So now that we have this little buildup of history, it was never intended for affirmative action to be forever. It was always up for review every 25 years or so. So it always had to be renewed. We're just shy of that last 25 years. And what 25 years ago looked like then and what it looks like now is drastically different. And it just so happened that the laws were reviewed and reapproved in around 2003. And what society looked like absolutely changed. Technology has changed. Mentalities have changed. And most importantly, our ability to make money has changed. So no longer do we need to hold the traditional mindset of holding a job or working those traditional jobs just to have employment. We have more millionaires than ever before, mostly due to us having access to the resources that were once hidden or weren't easily accessible to us. And let me just tell you right now that they are no longer hidden, and we have access to that knowledge if you just so happen to want to seek it. So let's stop for just a moment. Let's stop, and not take that victim approach and focus on what we can control. And what we can control is having that unbreakable, relentless, perseverance mindset. So, point is, if we stop and take a look at the opportunities in front of us, we don't need anyone to give us affirmative action. That's not what affirmative action was for anyway. So, except under some extenuating circumstances, when we're given a gift, when somebody gives us something, the key word gives us something, we inherently know that we owe that person back. And there's something to be said about having access to resources and having access to be able to do and manipulate and go forward with our lives without having to owe anyone anything. So just for a moment, let's consider this. Let's forget about someone having to affirm you or saying yes to you in order for you to take action. Just take action, massive action at that, in whatever direction that you need or you want to, without having to justify anything to anyone. And just for a moment, think how beautiful of a thing that is for you. My name is Prince Williams, the real Prince Williams, and I'm here to help you flow and grow. Thank you.